There is something about midnight that stirs both wonder and weariness. It is the hour when the world feels most silent, most abandoned, the hour when prayers feel unanswered, when walls echo back with nothing but the sound of your own sigh. Midnight, that in-between place, where yesterday has died and tomorrow has not yet been born. It's in that kind of darkness that doubt creeps in like ivy on old stone, slowly curling around the soul, whispering, perhaps nothing will ever change. And yet the miracle has always belonged to the midnight hour. Not at noon, when everything is visible, when the path is well lit and your companions walk beside you. No. The miracle comes at midnight, because that is when belief is truly belief, not supported by light or sight or sound, but by something deeper, something unseen. Faith, you see, faith is not the absence of questions. It is the resolve to keep walking even when every road appears to vanish before you. It is trusting that the gardener is at work even in the winter, when every tree looks dead and the soil appears barren. It is believing that even when the author pauses, he has not closed the book. Your miracle is not delayed, it is developing. Midnight is not evidence of God's silence. It is the womb of his preparation. Just because the stars are veiled does not mean the heavens have closed. Just because you are walking through the valley does not mean the shepherd has left your side. Sometimes it is only in the waiting that we grow ears sharp enough to hear the whisper. What if the delay is not punishment but protection? What if the reason you are still waiting is because something greater is being shaped, not just for you, but in you? Faith is the refusal to surrender to the evidence of the senses. It is the patient insistence that even now, especially now, hope is not a fool's errand. It is the boldness to stand in the middle of the night, to lift your eyes to the unseen and declare, "It is not over, I am not alone, the dawn is coming, you are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. The night cannot last forever, though it may linger longer than you would like. But in that waiting, something sacred is born, a resilience, a trust, a clarity that only grows in the dark. The miracle may not come in the way you expected, but it will come. It always does. It is on the way, even now, even here. So hold your ground, stand in faith, stay the course. Midnight may still surround you, but remember, it is always darkest just before the break of day. And your dawn, your breakthrough, your midnight miracle is nearer than it seems. Midnight is not a sign of abandonment, but the sacred hour where faith is forged in silence. There is a deep mystery in how the night works upon the soul. It strips away distractions, silences the noise, and leaves us face with the rawness of our own belief. Midnight does not carry the warmth of daylight or the clarity of morning. It offers no confirmation, no visible evidence that anything is moving on your behalf. It feels still, almost too still, as if heaven has paused, and yet that stillness is not a void but a vessel. It is in the very absence of signs that faith becomes what it was meant to be, pure, untested by sight, and yet stronger for it. When you are surrounded by silence, you begin to listen differently. You no longer depend on the outer world to affirm your direction. You begin to lean into the still, small voice, the whisper that only the waiting can hear. The silence of midnight is not God withholding himself, but God inviting you into deeper trust. It is the holy furnace where surface belief is burned away, and real faith, like gold, is refined. You begin to walk not by what you see, but by what you know, and even that knowing is no longer intellectual. It becomes visceral, a conviction that refuses to let go. In the sacredness of midnight, the soul is stripped bare. You are not performing for the world. You are not leaning on applause or affirmation. There are no crowds, no visible harvest, no instant breakthrough. It is just you and the invisible. And yet, what is being shaped in you during this hour is more enduring than anything daylight could ever provide. The silence becomes sacred not because it is easy, but because it is honest. There are no masks at midnight. There is only surrender, and in that surrender strength is born. You find that your roots are going deeper, not because the surface is flourishing, but because the depth must sustain what the future will hold. Faith at midnight is different from faith in the morning. It doesn't shout or celebrate. It doesn't always glow with inspiration. It simply remains quiet, steady, unmoving. It endures, and in that quiet endurance something supernatural happens. Heaven leans in. Miracles do not always arrive with trumpets or bright lights. Sometimes they unfold gently in the unseen, like a seed breaking through soil in the dead of night. You don't see the shift immediately, but the earth has already begun to tremble beneath your feet. Midnight, then, becomes holy ground, not because everything has changed, but because you have changed. The night has not destroyed you, it has deepened you, it has purified your belief, it has taught you to hold on when everything else said to let go. It has shown you that faith does not always need to feel strong to be strong. Sometimes, just continuing to stand is itself a victory. Delay is not denial. Your miracle is developing in the unseen. We often measure progress by what we can observe, what we can touch, what can be verified by others. But some of the most important things that happen in life occur in places no eye can see. Seeds do not sprout the moment they are placed in the soil. There is a quiet process beneath the surface, a hidden unfolding that cannot be rushed. The miracle is not absent because you cannot perceive it. It is simply not finished. Just because the curtain has not risen does not mean the performance has been cancelled. It only means the stage is still being set in our waiting. We tend to assume that silence means disapproval, that the lack of movement must mean we've been forgotten. But the truth is that the delay may be the very evidence of care. A sculptor does not release the statue until it is fully formed. A composer does not unveil the symphony until every note is in place. The time between prayer and fulfillment is not a void, but a workshop. Something is being shaped. Maybe it's the miracle itself. Maybe it's the soul that must receive it. If everything came instantly, we would not be ready for the weight of the blessing. A structure rushed in its foundation cannot stand in storms. Likewise, a heart untested in waiting cannot carry the fullness of what is coming. The delay serves a divine purpose. It teaches us to trust without explanation. It weans us off of visible signs and brings us into maturity. We begin to understand that some of the greatest victories happen long before we ever see the result. They happen in the perseverance, in the quiet hope, in the refusal to give up even when the sky stays gray. There is a difference between delay and denial. Denial closes the door. Delay simply keeps it shut until the right moment. Imagine opening a flower before it has fully bloomed. It would destroy the beauty, or breaking open a cocoon before the butterfly has strengthened its wings. It would ruin what was meant to soar. In the same way, a miracle given too early may not bless you. It may burden you. Timing is not incidental to the miracle. It is essential. The wait is not wasted. It is woven into the gift itself. The unseen realm is not inactive. Angels are moving, circumstances are aligning, people are being positioned, strength is being built in you that you do not even recognize yet. This is the slow, divine art of preparation. It is not always comfortable, but it is always intentional. Your cries have not gone unheard, your tears have not been in vain, the waiting room is not empty, it is full of unseen movement, quiet orchestration, divine intention. What you call delay, heaven may call design. What you call silence, heaven may call strategy. Trust that just because your eyes cannot see, your miracle is not only possible. It is already on the way. Faith is holding on when all visible signs vanish, trusting that dawn is already on its way. It is not a luxury reserved for those who have all the answers or those who never feel fear. Real faith begins when certainty ends. When the path disappears, when the prayers seem to hang in the air without reply, when every outward sign suggests that nothing is changing, that is where faith takes root. It does not rely on feeling strong. It simply decides not to let go. It holds even if trembling. It believes even if barely. It stands even if no one else does. The strength of faith is not seen in moments of clarity, but in seasons of silence. It is tested not in comfort, but in confusion. It is not merely a set of beliefs written on a page, but a living act of defiance against despair. Faith says there is more than what I can see. Faith insists that even now, in this darkness, a light is preparing to rise. It speaks not because it has proof, but because it has promise. It holds on, not because the hands are strong, but because the heart refuses to surrender. When the visible signs vanish, many retreat. They interpret the absence of evidence as the absence of God. But faith sees differently. It looks at the empty and senses fullness. It looks at the quiet and senses activity. It looks at the delay and senses divine timing. Faith does not need affirmation from the senses. It is not a calculation, it is a commitment. It is the soul's answer to the silence. I will trust anyway. This kind of faith is not glamorous. It is often hidden, often unnoticed, often misunderstood. It does not always speak in bold declarations. Sometimes it whispers through tears. Sometimes it clings with the last bit of strength left. But that clinging is holy, that whisper is worship. That refusal to let go, even when nothing makes sense, is the purest expression of belief. It is what anchors the soul when the winds howl and the night feels endless. The dawn does not need your understanding to arrive. It needs only your endurance. Light is not dependent on your awareness of its approach. It comes because it has been appointed to come. Faith trusts that appointment. Faith rests in the certainty of what is unseen, the inevitability of light even when the sky remains black. The heart that continues to hope when it has every reason to quit becomes a beacon not only for itself but for others. It declares that the darkness is not permanent, that silence is not the end, that what was spoken in promise will not return empty. To hold on without visible signs is not foolish. It is faithful. It is to declare that the night has limits. It is to stand firm in the place where many would fall back. It is to plant your feet in the ground of hope, to stretch your eyes beyond the horizon, to believe that even if you cannot see it yet, the sun is already preparing to rise.